one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. This gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2-3. 1, 2, 3. Finish.
Cashing in, say, the way Liv did, well, that's like winning the lottery, isn't it? And I don't need to win the lottery because I work my ass off every week for a paycheck.
You ready to make history? Come on now. Yeah. You know, there's these two words. And when I say them, people get goosebumps because they know. They know what happens next. So without further ado, free smoke. Look, scared cause I'm drowning in silence with bad thoughts. These days I don't have nothing to say, man, the bag talks. I put in headphones on my driver. Pull up to the spot and give a good dick and Godiva. I can't lie, I'm uninspired. No more pillow talking about nonsense. I only stick around to put some band-aids on my conscience. I don't know why I feel so bad, nigga. That's what we do, no foundation. We don't build no more, we just screw. Half a bottle of Henny, girl, I'm going with the wind. The same niggas say they happy for me, ain't want me to win. So I'm done on my friends. Don't need help popping Coronas and reminiscing. I just call up Big Bro J and say it's time for venting. If I live forever, I hold this hate for some centuries. You don't know how much I have you doing what it meant to me, but motherfuck all that. I don't even offer up the time to make the call back. Stupid Lodo, if they don't get the picture now, man, I crop them out of the photo. I can't relate to my peers. Been doing this shit for years. I'm motivated by fears. I took the wheel and I steer. My sound not dictated by fuck boys in Atlanta. Stay gifted like this album was ghost written by Santa. Boss forever like they decided to throw me under Slammer. Every song's a hit like they picture me underhanders. I could drop a million songs, but they never gon' understand us. Soapbox sermons for niggas never giving chances. Fight our whole lives to get these weak ass advances. Work twice as hard for the shit that they getting handed. And this ain't even nothing we chose, nigga, we branded. Still can't tell why all of these niggas mad at me. I'm trying to get 100 so I can put my team on salary. Give it all to the art, man, I turn my life to a gallery. Man, damn, what a fucked up masterpiece. 1,100 shots and I swear, man, I felt them all. If we ain't even good on our blocks, man, who can we call? Pre-decline state of mind, we broke crabs in the barrel. Got us fighting our folk, man, this shit just a life of peril.
Don't let the minutia of people distract us. This is the last year in the NAL. Next year we going to the AFL. A lot of owners around here got this type of money to even be in this league, so let's get that clear. A lot of naysayers around here, I've been seeing a lot of players chip chat about me. You think I care what the NAL players say about me?
Yo, welcome back to Kicking It with Saint, or welcome to Kicking It with Saint. I am your host, Saint, and I hope everybody out there is having a dope day, dope afternoon, dope night, whatever point in time you're listening to this. I want to talk about my guy, Lamar Jackson. I haven't made a Lamar Jackson video in a little minute. I've been meaning to. I've been planning on making one. Just haven't had the time. I've been having to cover other things. But now seemed like the perfect time. You know, I just saw this little ranking of Lamar Jackson on the NFL players list. He was rated 72. Dak Prescott was rated over him. Jared Goff. You know, you can go look at the list. I don't really want to name a bunch of players, even though, listen, it's not 72 players better than Lamar Jackson. It's not 20 players better than Lamar Jackson, let alone 71 players better than Lamar Jackson. But listen, this is one of them days where the fans who I attack on a normal basis get to sit back and watch me attack these goofy ass players. Because I done said it all the time. This is why I will never agree with players being able to vote on things and they have over 20-something+% of a vote. Because players to me are goofy. A lot of these players, yes, they are very smart. They understand the game of football. They understand the game that they play. But after hearing so many and listening to so many of these athletes talk, it's very clear they are great at playing the game. They are great at analyzing the game throughout the structure and throughout the game. Talking about the game, breaking down the game, breaking down why things happen the way they do. That's so very clearly not what most of these athletes are good at. Okay? And I get it. When you in it, it can be very hard to understand all the intricacies that go into winning. When you're a great player and you in it, it's very easy to say, I'm the difference and me alone. But it just ain't that simple. This is why I don't take players serious on a lot of the things that they say a lot of the times. Listen, good players can say stupid stuff. Listen, if you listen to Emmanuel Acho, you should already know you can't take players too serious. But it's not a player thing. I'm the same way with the media. I understand that everybody ain't gonna say smart shit. I get that. Whether they have a degree in journalism or whether they have multiple years of experience in a profession like the NFL, the NBA. They all not gonna say smart shit. That's just the nature of the beast. However, you can't take it too serious, especially if you ain't in it. Now, if I was Lamar Jackson, I probably would take it a little bit personal. Yeah, I got Jared Goff and Dak. Dak Prescott played less games and threw more interceptions than any quarterback in football last year. But he rated over Lamar. Now, see, this is the thing that and it's not just a player thing. I don't take people can go crazy about these players. The media the same way. You get them rankings. They rank Lamar Jackson low. Lamar Jackson is legitimately carrying a football team with no help around him. He's carrying a team. But to let the media tell it, Joe Burrow is carrying a team. Even though he got an all-pro receiver over there with him, even though he got 3 number 1 receivers over there, a great running back, a phenomenal defense, his coach is not all that. And neither is his offensive line. But let them tell it, he carrying that squad. It's very interesting. But I could care less about it. Because I'm at the point where I already see what this is. People who don't like Lamar, people who don't care for Lamar, people who already thought one way and refuse to change it, that's just how it's going to be. They're not going to switch up on it. Who cares at this point? You can't pay them no attention. When it comes to the players, I think you just have to come to the realization all of these motherfuckers just not that smart when it comes to this. Like, I know it's this thing where we think that just because a player is great at something, that they could coach it, that they could talk about it. That's just not true. It's just not true. LeBron James, I'm pretty sure, could sit down and talk to you about all the intricacies of basketball. He would sit down and tell you, while I am great, and I think I'm the greatest, and I think I do push the level of how great a team can be, it's not just because of this. It's because of all the things that I do that help a team within winning a championship. The Steph Currys of the world, the LeBrons of the world, I'm pretty sure could sit down and talk to you and break down basketball in a way that you never heard it broken down before, unless you done heard it broken down from like this from a dude who didn't play the game. Because I realize there's a lot of people out there who don't play sports, but are very great at breaking it down. It's like their power is to analyze the game, and they actually great at it. That's not what a lot of these guys and women in the sports media are great at nowadays. They just bias, and they just, they get paid to be biased and entertaining. That's literally all they are paid to do. So you can't take them too serious. But if you weed through it all, it is some out there who are very great at their jobs, and they would tell you it's not 70 plus players better than Lamar Jackson. It's just not. I mean, I tell you all the time, the way that you judge a black quarterback compared to how you judge a white quarterback is absolutely unbelievable to me. And I'm so happy that Baker Mayfield midfield was drafted first in that draft that Lamar Jackson was drafted 32nd in. Because it's so fascinating when you look at the media and listen to the media throughout both of their careers up to this point. Listen how they talked about Baker. Listen how they talked about Lamar. You wouldn't expect that the expectations for Lamar Jackson would be as high as they are for Baker Mayfield, who was drafted number 1 overall. But Lamar Jackson at every single step was criticized more than Baker, was held to higher expectations than Baker, and accomplished more than Baker all of the while. But you would have never known it if you didn't watch the games and if you just listened to the media because of how they talked about Lamar Jackson. Baker Mayfield was given chance after chance to be great. He was given a shit ton of talent to play with when he was in Cleveland. Never got it done. They got to the playoffs and they gave all the credit to Baker Mayfield. Why is that? They had a great defense. They had Myles Garrett. They had a phenomenal running game with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. A phenomenal coach who won Coach of the Year that year. But they gave all the credit to Baker Mayfield. In a playoff game in which Pittsburgh's quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, basically was playing for Cleveland. That's interesting. But every time you listen to Lamar Jackson be talked about, it's, oh, well, he can't win in the playoffs. That's so funny how we move the goalposts. Especially when you consider Justin Herbert, who been given a shit ton of talent, has only made the playoffs once. He was paid $200, the highest paid contract in NFL history. And I don't hear people on a game-to-game, year-to-year basis saying, you know, he ain't living up to the expectations. And he was also drafted far higher than Lamar Jackson. Every time you get a chance to shit on Kyler Murray, you take that opportunity, though. Trust me, you don't stop shitting on Dak Prescott, and he wasn't even drafted in the first round. So the expectations for these African-American quarterbacks, these quarterbacks of color, they got to be extra extraordinary for you to like them. Extra extraordinary to be talked about in a positive light in the media. And even then, they will never be as great as the Josh Allens of the world, the Joe Burrows of the world. And it's very interesting because Joe Burrow got a shit ton of talent on his team. I never hear about that. Jalen Hurts have a shit ton of talent on his team, and that's all people ever talk about outside of the Philly fans. Oh, Jalen Hurts, would he be this good if he didn't have all this talent? I mean, God, look at the weapons he got. But you never hear that. You never hear people talk about, would Joe Burrow be this good without Boyd, Chase, Higgins, Mixon, Perine? You never hear that question. You never hear it. So it's funny to me, these expectations. You look at Josh Allen. I love Josh Allen. That is my guy. Turnover machine. Never hear. Now, y'all are starting to turn on my guy. And it's a shame that Josh Allen even is falling victim to the Joe Burrow train of half-ass analyzing the game. He winning games with a lot of talent, so he got to be better than everybody else. But Josh Allen, a guy who was university loved for the most part, who you never really hear people talk down on unless you listen to Nick Wright, who was a Chiefs fan. He's rated over Lamar Jackson and all these other dudes all the time. And then they'll say, but they ain't won a Super Bowl. They need to win a Super Bowl. Neither have Joe Burrow. Neither have Josh Allen. And before you say Joe Burrow got to one, I continue to say, it's funny that we celebrate getting to the Super Bowl and not winning the Super Bowl. That would always be funny to me that y'all do that. Because y'all do that. LeBron stands do that with LeBron. But before he made that trip to the Super Bowl, him and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson done accomplished the same thing. And Lamar got less talent around him. But for some reason, the standard for Lamar was always higher, and you shitted on him. But you never would rate Josh Allen. It don't matter how many picks he throws a season. You ain't rating him less than top, 15, 10? But a quarterback. And this is what's so funny to me, because y'all keep telling me how important the quarterback position is, but you can't see the importance of what Lamar Jackson is to the Ravens, because if you did, you would never rate him that low. You would never rate a quarterback who do what he do for a team like Lamar Jackson, with the skill set Lamar Jackson done put on display. The passing he done been able to do with the talent he done had around him. The accolades and the accomplishments and the fact that he an MVP candidate every year. But he's 72nd on this list. How does that make any sense? How can you take players serious after something like that? That's why I don't take the media serious. Because they do shit like that. And then the players get mad when they got the worst rankings on Madden and shit like this. But a quarterback that legitimately carry his team on a yearly basis and wins the second highest winning percentage in football right now behind Pat Mahomes, ain't never had the talent around him on offense that Pat Mahomes done had around him. But that's the 72nd ranked quarterback. And then you say, well, he done missed the end of the season, Saint. He done missed as many games as Joe Burrow. What are you telling me? And I also find it funny that it's just these goalposts that you keep moving to try to disrespect or justify not giving Lamar Jackson his respect. All I heard last year was Justin Herbert ain't got talent when they got hurt. I ain't heard that when Lamar Jackson was going out there in that playoff game against the Bills, where guys were dropping passes left and right, I didn't hear the people come out the next day and say, oh man, it would help if Lamar Jackson had some talent. When he lost that first game as a rookie, I didn't hear people come out and say, oh man, he was a young guy. This was his first year in the league. He had to come in halfway through the season. He was never supposed to start that year. He was drafted 32nd in the draft. We shouldn't have these type of expectations on him, considering the first and the second pick in the draft didn't make it to the playoffs that year. But no, we're going to shit on Lamar Jackson anyways, because we never wanted him to be successful and we never thought he could be. You see what I'm saying? Now imagine Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert are in these positions. You don't have to imagine it with Justin Herbert because he finally made the playoffs last year. You don't have to imagine it with Trevor Lawrence, who came in as the highly touted prospect and had a shit season his first year. But of course, we give all the blame to Urban Meyer. It's amazing to me the heights that Lamar Jackson has reached already, with everybody betting against him. Yet he's not still disrespected by just the media, but also by his contemporaries. I'm not going to say peers. I doubt Lamar Jackson will be rocking with too many of these dudes, ranking him number 72. That's goofy. You don't know ball. Clearly. Let me ask you something. A quarterback that do what Lamar Jackson do on a yearly basis, he played so great last year that he could. And you keep telling me you want him to put up the numbers, passing numbers that Joe Burrow and that Josh Allen put up, but you yet to get him a Stephon Diggs, a Trayvon. I mean, you haven't gotten him a Stephon Diggs, a Jamar Chase, a Tyler Boyd, a T. Higgins, a Tyreek Hill, a Devontae Smith, a A.J. Brown. You haven't got him none of that talent, but you want him to throw for 4,000-5,000 yards a season. So that's very interesting to me. And you so quick to want to hate on him that knowing Odell just came off of a season-ending injury last year, and but the year before that season he came off of another season-ending injury, and now you telling me, oh well, he got a number one now, knowing good and damn well Odell is no longer a number one receiver. It's amazing. You got to teach this hate, because you literally going out there and every single thing that you would have. And I even see these bozos like Emmanuel Acho, who will get on TV and tell you Lamar got no excuses. What excuses did y'all give him before? Because you've been hating on Lamar Jackson at the beginning. And every time you feel like it's convenient for you to try to support him, you try to do that, even though people see past you now, because you're a goof. So tell me, why is it so easy to look at this situation with Lamar and say, oh, we're giving him excuses, or oh, he done underachieved, or oh, he not good enough, or oh, he can't win at this, or oh, he can't. Because for every single one of these other quarterbacks that y'all love, these white knight quarterbacks, you give an excuse for. You keep telling me Joe Burrow better than Pat Mahomes, yet he ain't putting together the career that Pat Mahomes done put together. He got to a Super Bowl. He may never get to another one. And if he doesn't, how much did getting to that first one really mean? You keep thinking that Joe Burrow gonna have this talent around him forever. I hear the media where they keep talking about, oh, Joe Burrow gonna take a pay cut and he gonna do this to make sure all the talent stay together and this and that and this and that. We'll see. We'll see. It's just not smart for a team to be paying 3 receivers and a quarterback. But we'll see. And you know they got pass rushers that's going to get paid too. Keep believing that people just love Joe Shiesty so much that they're willing to take millions of dollars of pay cuts in order to play with him. That might happen for 1 year. You thinking that dude's finna go 5-6 years taking pay cuts just to play with Joe Burrow? That's funny. Eventually, y'all gonna have to really see how great Joe Burrow really is without all that talent around him. But it's going to be interesting how y'all judge him, because I don't think y'all going to judge him too harsh. I think what y'all going to say is he don't really got no talent around him, even though when people say it for Lamar, it's an excuse. It's very weird how y'all decide to look at Lamar and judge him. When if you're really a football fan, you really looked at this shit in an unbiased situation, like I can't remember my man's name, it's Warren something. But if you looked at this in a unbiased fashion, you would see the greatness of a Lamar Jackson very easy. And you would be quick to say, bruh, can they get him some talent? Can they stop spending so much money on the defensive side of the ball and go out and be willing to spend big time on the offensive side of the ball? You keep talking about, oh, run. The game doesn't evolve, but they refuse to evolve. Lamar Jackson had to play with an offensive coordinator. I don't know if Greg Roman knew how to draw up better pass concepts, but I just know he didn't. And they kept him longer than they should have. They refused to go out and get him a top tier weapon on the outside of the numbers. Don't believe me? They done said it themselves. Eric DeCosta done come out and said he failed Lamar Jackson in as far as building an offense around him. But somehow, fans and media members, sports analysts can watch these games and players and think this the 72nd ranked. I'm with Rip Bucher. This is egregious. This is not just a mistake. This is just buffoonery. How can players be so goofy? How can you make a mistake this egregious? How can you be so ignorant to rank a dude who is so very clearly the only reason the Ravens are a good team? The Ravens are not considered a Super Bowl team because of the defense and the pieces on offense. They consider the Super Bowl team because of Lamar Jackson and what he done been able to do with far less around him than any other team. The Ravens don't make big splashes and go out and get receivers in their prime. And they'll never be able to draft one at the top of the draft because of how great Lamar Jackson is. But it'll be very... And then now you got people who'll come on and be like, well, I don't know how Lamar Jackson will be in a pass-heavy offense. What are you talking about? Lamar Jackson tried to pass the ball every year he done been in the league with dudes who are less than. And he done always been a problem. This notion that he can't throw or he don't... Lamar Jackson play from the pocket. It's times where I'm watching and I'm like, yo, Lamar, just run. Nobody's getting open, bro. His faith in his receivers is the problem for me. Because they done shown him over and over and over and over and over, we're going to let you down. Every chance we get, we are going to let you down. That's what they've shown him. But he keep trusting them. He put himself in harm's way, trusting these receivers. And then the defense not finna get off the hook. Lamar Jackson give these dudes big leads last year on multiple bases, and they blew them. You keep Pat Queen continue to get mad about how people talk about him on Twitter, and you got these moronic Raven fans who done start butt sucking him and agreeing with him. Patrick Queen is one of the worst middle linebackers in football until you put him beside an actual top tier middle linebacker who can cover up for everything that he can't do. But players or fans talk about how great he is. But somehow it's in question how great Lamar Jackson is. Patrick Queen don't play 15% of a role to winning for the Ravens compared to the percentage that Lamar Jackson play. But I hear people getting on Twitter all the time butt sucking Patrick Queen because you feel bad that people talk bad on him. Why you don't feel bad that a legitimate superstar player is ranked 72nd in football? Why you not sad about that? But why? Because Lamar Jackson don't be bitching about stuff like that. He was rated something. He said, it don't matter. I'm going to just go home and make myself a 99 on Madden anyways. Yeah, Lamar Jackson clearly is not bothered by y'all. But I just think it's embarrassing. Because It's people who I continue to say actually trying to learn these things. They're trying to learn football. They don't really know. They want to learn these things. Maybe learning these things will help them understand the game better, watch it more. And y'all just get on these lists and on TV and shit like this and lie and be biased and say stupid shit and try to sound smart by saying more stupid shit. It's embarrassing. Nobody who sit down and watch Lamar Jackson all the time will have the takes that most of y'all morons have. It's a reason that some of the dudes like Warren, who have some of the smartest Lamar Jackson tapes, don't sound smart to me because I watch Lamar. It's just the truth. But it sounds smart to people who don't watch Lamar. And it sounds outlandish to people who definitely don't watch Lamar. They just watch the media talk about Lamar, which is another group of people who don't watch him either. They watch highlights. You wouldn't dare defend a defense that gave up that game that they gave up in Miami this year, or in Jacksonville this year, or in New York this year, if it were Josh Allen or Joe Burrow playing quarterback. But Lamar Jackson was playing quarterback, had given his team a comfortable lead to win, and when they blew it, and he had to try to do more to save them in certain games, it was Lamar's fault. I saw Lamar Jackson get his team a huge lead against Miami, and people said, well, how come Lamar didn't keep scoring? Lamar Jackson had a late touchdown run in that game that should have sealed the game off anyways. And the defense just drive after drive, just kept giving up touchdowns with ease. No time off the clock. And somehow that was Lamar's fault. Lamar Jackson played a great game in Jacksonville, gave them a late touchdown, and the defense still allowed Jacksonville to get unanswered touchdown and field goal to win the game. Played great against the Giants, and the defense still blew that game in the fourth quarter. And Lamar Jackson had to try to save the team afterwards, and he ended up turning over the ball looking bad for it. He gave them a lead against the Bills, and what did the defense do? Blow that lead also. But of course, why didn't Lamar keep scoring? I saw so many games last year where quarterbacks gave their teams 2 touchdown leads, 10-point leads, and the defense, it was good enough. And I heard defenders say that's a good enough lead. But for some reason, for Lamar Jackson, it was his fault. It's just very goofy how people choose to watch him, how they choose to talk about him, and all these type of things. Because this is a legitimate superstar. I probably will never really like Baltimore the way I have over my lifetime because they took so long to pay a dude. That's the only reason your franchise is still standing right now. You at every turn neglected to go out and get this man talent that would help him be better. You kept bringing in talent that he could make better, but you never brought in nothing that would help him be better. And you kept cashing checks, cashing checks, cashing checks. And you knew the fans would defend you because Lamar Jackson is, for one, a millionaire and black. So it's going to always be easy for a bunch of white fans to go against that type of thing. And it's always going to be easy for the organization to paint him in a light of being too greedy or not appreciative. I hate it when I hear, oh, they drafted you, you owe them. I don't owe them shit. Playing out that contract that I was drafted on was what I owed them. Giving them 100% when I was on that contract is what I owed them. A contract is not a blood oath. Getting drafted by a team is not a blood oath. It's not a I owe you for life. You guys are morons. You players are morons. But, you know, I'm a moron also at some things. Just not at this one. Not at this one. And you notice I'm not moving off of this stance. I will die on this Lamar Jackson hill. And it's really sad to me that more people don't just sit down and watch the man play, because then it would be so very easy for people to defend the man, because then they would definitely go at the Ravens for the lack of what the Ravens have chosen to do to surround Lamar Jackson with talent. I watched the Chiefs trade away Tyreek Hill and use that money to bring in all types of receivers to help Pat Mahomes last year. The Ravens get rid of a receiver and they go out and get defenders and offensive linemen. And I have no problem with getting offensive linemen. But the fact that you continue to shuffle the offensive line and not at any point in time decide to go out and get this man a top tier weapon, and your excuse is we could use that money to pay other positions. What? Okay. Now, one thing. But what about the position that your quarterback needs? What about what Lamar needs to be better? What about what Lamar needs to help his development? And now y'all giving him praise for signing a receiver who done been injured over the last couple years. Signing Nelson Aguilar. Like, it was painful watching Emmanuel Acho try to say Lamar got no excuses. He got Nelson Aguilar, a dude who done been, it's literally a meme out about Nelson Aguilar that's been viral for years now. But he got no excuses because the Ravens went out and got Nelson Aguilar. Go get a list of the receivers that the Ravens done signed since Lamar Jackson done been a Raven, bruh. And defend it. Please defend that. And then switch Lamar with Joe Burrow. And then defend that. Switch him with Herbert. And then defend it. But sure, with all Lamar done accomplished, being an MVP candidate every year, carrying the Ravens every year, he's 72nd in the NFL. Compared to players who play nowhere near the role to winning that Lamar played. That carry nowhere near the load for a team that Lamar carries for the Ravens. It's ridiculous. Players should see this, and I pray players listen to this and feel like dumbasses, feel like a bunch of jackasses, feel like a bunch of guys who are no better than the guys that you hate in the media who you feel like don't know ball. I'm here to tell you, players, you don't know ball either. And am I talking about all players? Absolutely not. I'm pretty sure it's guys who voted for Lamar Jackson to be in a top 20 at least, even though Lamar Jackson is so very clearly a top 10 player in the league. It's just a difference when you are a top tier quarterback. You didn't want Lamar Jackson to end up on San Francisco if you hate Lamar, because you knew what that would have ended up being. You didn't want Lamar Jackson to end up in no situation with a phenomenal head coach, offensive-minded coach with weapons. I bet you the Eagles would switch out. They never tell you this out loud. But if you wrote a survey and you never had to put your name or your affiliation down, do you think Lamar Jackson, and if you could switch Lamar Jackson with Jalen Hurts, and I love Jalen Hurts, he ain't Lamar. If you a Chargers fan and you could switch Justin Herbert with Lamar, my problem is that they would probably keep Herbert. And my problem is that Herbert is at no point in time proven that he is better than Lamar Jackson. You want to know why they would keep Herbert? Because he can throw the ball good, and he a white quarterback. I wasn't doing that to shit on Jalen Hurts. I was doing that to prove a point. Because as great as Jalen Hurts in that Super Bowl was amazing. I don't care how great you think Lamar Jackson is. As a Philly fan, even on the down low, you shouldn't take Lamar Jackson over Jalen Hurts. But you would. And you think about it. Because it's easy to do that to African-American quarterbacks not named Pat Mahomes. Even though I even heard a jackass say the other day, Pat Mahomes not black, he white. He got a white wife. Okay. If we're going to do that, do you know how many African-American men in the league would be considered white if we want to run off of that? Because a lot of them married to white women. Like, bro, I'm not playing this game. I could care less who a man is married to. If I'm going to call a black man white, it better be because of his beliefs and how he act like Emmanuel Acho. All right? Don't be ignorant. Don't be calling black dudes white just because they married to white women. Pat Mahomes is a black man. All right? And that's my guy. But you can't hate on Pat Mahomes because he already established. You can't hate on the greatest thing. Just like it's hard to hate on the worst thing. Which is why it's starting to get real hard to hate on Baker Mayfield. Because he quickly becoming the worst thing. You know what I'm saying? But listen. I could care less about any of that. My boy Lamar Jackson about to show out this year, bro. They finally gave him something to work with. I'm hoping Zay Flowers end up being great. Hoping some of these dudes figure out how to stay healthy. Hoping that Todd Moinkin can actually figure out how to help the offense by making sure Lamar ain't got to do everything. Lamar shouldn't always have to throw people open. Lamar shouldn't always have to extend the play. An offensive coordinator should be able to draw up plays to get easy yards for Lamar. At some point in time, it's got to be on somebody else other than Lamar Jackson. But I got all the faith in the world in Big L. Big Lamar Action Jackson. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But that's how I feel. This was a Lamar Jackson video. It was a Lamar Jackson show today. I love Lamar. You guys got to stop hating, man. You really do. It's really, really, I think y'all look stupid. But at this point, it's not even just that I think y'all look stupid. I really feel bad for you because you're missing out on a generational talent. If you really sat down and watched Lamar Jackson the way y'all sit down and say y'all watch Joe Burrow, you would realize Lamar Jackson a generational talent, because you would sit down and say to yourself, there's no way in hell he should be able to carry this team the way he is carrying them right now. There's no way. How is he doing this? But sure, let's keep hating on Lamar. It's whatever. Shout out to Lamar, though. He about to ball out this year. And to the Goofs, they had him ranked 72nd on that list. You guys don't know ball. You don't. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys for joining me on another episode of Kicking with Saint. Tell somebody you fuck with them. Tell somebody you love them. You could be anything in the world. Choose to be kind to somebody today. Saint out.
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, she know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy. Scoop her up like I'm raking her something. You would think shawty red track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber. You out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home. Tight.